Hey everyone! Welcome to The Young and the Restless. I'm Jane, and I'm so excited to have you here. If you love Young and the Restless, then you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Alright, let's dive right in. The Young and the Restless recap from Monday, July 7th, shows that Kane Ashby's jealousy will flare up when Phyllis Summers pursues Adam Newman in Nice. Nick Newman will also demand a choice, so let's discuss the upcoming YNR drama. When Kyle Abbott arrives at Audra Charles's train car, she will welcome him in and behave as if it is no great issue that she is wearing a robe. After a playful talk about their cosmetics company rivalry, Audra and Kyle want to collaborate in the dining room. Audra will argue there is no need for Kyle to leave while she changes clothes, stripping down to her underwear in his presence. Meanwhile, Phyllis will be full of questions and thoughts about Kane's aggressive takeover plans for Genoa City. Kane will not go into depth just yet, but he will insist on a demonstration of faith to establish that Phyllis is truly as committed as she claims. Phyllis will tell Kane to name it and appear ready to go with any treachery he desires. Damian and Kane will be nearby, picking a flower for Lily Winters, so Kane will spot them together and put his conversation with Phyllis on hold for the moment. Although Kane will try to be polite with Lily, she will respond coldly. Amanda Sinclair will observe Lily and Damian's closeness when Kane departs, and she will worry if they are now romantically involved. Lily will say they're just trying to make the best of a bad situation because Kane is holding them captive. Lily will argue with Phyllis by bringing up Daniel Romalotti Jr. and implying that his mother is partying instead of being present to assist him throughout his loss. Phyllis will justify her conduct, but she will be triggered by Lily's remark about them being lab rats and will flee. Kyle and Audra will meet Damian and Lily in the dining area. Although Audra and Kyle will make it clear that they are working together, Damian will remain skeptical of Audra and the boundaries she may break. Lily will observe Damian's protectiveness of his half-brother, therefore Damian will discuss bonding with Nate Hastings in a short period of time. Kyle will point out to Audra that not everyone appears to be buying their job tale, but she will not care what anybody else thinks. When Kyle accompanies Audra back to her train car, they'll have another flirting moment, leaving Audra feeling good about herself. Over with Lily, she'll grab Damian's hand and wonder how she could have ever doubted such a wonderful man. Kane will be jealous as he notices the nice moment nearby. Next, Nicky Newman will be eager to return to Genoa City, but Victor Newman will want to stay since this could be his chance to finally overthrow Kane. Furthermore, Victor will believe it is too risky for Nicky to walk down the mountain alongside Adam. Instead, Victor will want to send Adam down alone so that he may delve deeper into the situation back in Genoa City. Nick intends to find a means to reconnect with the outside world and reassure Nicky. Phyllis will eventually disrupt this Newman strategy session, so she will be astonished by Adam's appearance. Phyllis will try to get information, but the Newmans will be keen to get rid of her. Nick will eventually lead Phyllis back out of the maze, where he will advise her not to be so trusting of Kane. Nick will highlight Kane's visit to GC after spilling the beans on his property snatching and large purchases. Phyllis will pretend to be stunned by all of this news and defend Kane briefly, but Nick will grip her arm to emphasize how serious he is. Nick will think it's time for Phyllis to choose a side. Phyllis can either side with the untrustworthy Kane or fight him off with others who care about her. Back on the train, Nicky will get Adam to express his feelings for Victoria and Claire Newman. Nicky will also thank Adam for risking his life to bring them updates, but Adam will repeat it's what family does before he leaves. According to the Young and the Restless spoilers, Victoria Newman will need someone to repair her wounded heart, so let's discuss her next love path after the heartbreaking loss of Cole Howard. Cole died on July 3rd after kissing Victoria one last time. It was a tragic moment that Victoria would always remember. Victoria had a second chance at love with Cole, but it was far too fleeting. Cole, Victoria, and Claire Newman didn't have enough time to bond as a family, but they did make some wonderful moments along the road. Of course, Victoria will need time to grieve after Cole's death. Working through the sorrow and finding a way ahead will be difficult, but Victoria will succeed in the end. With that in mind, it never hurts to consider Victoria's next amorous step. Even when someone dies on a soap opera, the partner they leave behind usually moves on quickly. The positive of losing Cole is that Victoria will have fresh story options. Cole and Victoria's reunion was pleasant enough, but they were not exactly a hot pair with a lot going on. Victoria might now be paired with someone else and reintroduced to more fascinating stories. Will Victoria fall for someone new or someone familiar? Victoria could hook up with someone like Holden Novak, who is such a flirt. We could even envision Kane Ashby directing Holden toward Victoria as part of his Newman-related goal. It would be intriguing to observe Claire Newman's reaction to that, as she has built her own bond with Holden. Could YNR pave the way for a mother-daughter love triangle down the line? Victoria, on the other hand, has already reconnected with Nate Hastings, who may be single soon now that Audra Charles appears to be ruining their relationship. Nate will undoubtedly comfort Victoria in the aftermath of Cole's death, which could improve their friendship and lead them back into sexual terrain sooner or later. If Billy Abbott's relationship with Sally Spectra fails, the storyline may return to Victoria's bond with him. Regardless, YNR fans will be eager to see where Victoria goes after the Cole disaster. During Victoria's mourning period, someone may catch her heart and lead her along a new path to happiness. According to the Young and the Restless spoilers, Victoria will require another love interest and plot at some time, so keep an eye out for any post-Cole romantic developments. Kane's jealousy had been simmering for weeks, like a slow-burning fuse ready to detonate at any moment. Kane's teeth clenched not only because of Adam's way of looking at Phyllis, but also because Phyllis seemed to light up in his presence, and her laughter came almost too easily. Kane tried to reject it, telling himself he was being overly paranoid and that Phyllis loved him and would never betray him. But uncertainties gnawed at him, especially late at night when the house was silent and his mind was free to wander. He had always taken pride in being a rational man who did not let emotions cloud his judgment, but this was different. This was Phyllis, the woman he'd built a life with and trusted the most. And now he was watching from across the room as Adam leaned in a little too close, placing his hand on Phyllis's elbow for an additional second. Kane picked up on something small that most people would miss. He observed everything about Phyllis. The party was Adam's idea, a half-baked excuse to commemorate a commercial transaction that did not even involve Kane. He'd only come because Phyllis had asked him to, her eyes pleading in a way he couldn't deny. "It'll be fun," she said softly, her fingers tracing languid circles across his chest. "We haven't been out in ages." And so he agreed, despite the fact that the prospect of spending the evening watching Adam preen and pose made his skin crawl. Standing in the corner of the crowded room, Kane drank his drink and tried to ignore the way his jaw clenched. He told himself he was overreacting, that he was just tired, and that he needed to relax. But then Adam grinned in response to something Phyllis said, slipping his hand down to the small of her back, and Kane felt something fracture inside. He couldn't recall crossing the room or the exact words he had spoken, but he was suddenly there, standing between Phyllis and Adam, his voice low and intimidating. "Do you think you're standing a little too close?" The comments were meant at Adam, but Phyllis was the first to respond, her eyes widening in surprise. "Kane," she warned, but he didn't listen. Adam, ever the provocateur, simply smirked and raised his hands in mock surrender. "Hello, man." No harm meant, just having a conversation, but Kane didn't believe it. He'd noticed Adam's fingertips brush across Phyllis's waist, and his gaze lingered just a little too long. It wasn't just a conversation. Adam was performing well in the game. Phyllis grasped Kane's arm, pressing her claws into his skin as she drew him away. "What the hell is wrong with you?" she hissed, her voice barely audible over the music. Kane could feel the other guests' gazes on them and hear whispers starting, but he didn't mind. "You know exactly what's wrong," he said, his voice full of wrath. "I'm not blind, Phyllis. I see how he looks at you. The way you look at him. Phyllis looked stunned, as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Then her face contracted and her eyes blazed with wrath. "You're being ridiculous," she replied. "Adam is a friend. There is nothing more. If you can't handle it, you might be the cause of the problem." The words hit Kane like a slap, and for a while, he was too stunned to respond. Was he really the problem? Was he hallucinating things, or was his envy getting the best of him? But then he remembered Adam saying something into Phyllis's ear just minutes before, and how she blushed in response. He wasn't imagining it. Something was going on, and he was not going to stand by and watch it happen. "I'm not the one flirting with another man in front of my partner," he stated with a grimace. Phyllis's mouth dropped open, and her cheeks flushed with wrath. "That's not what's happening, and you know it," she growled. "But if you're going to accuse me of something, at least have the decency to do it when we're alone." Before Kane could respond, Adam appeared by Phyllis's side, his expression completely neutral. "Is everything okay here?" he asked, his voice tinted with false concern. Kane wanted to punch him and wipe the smug look from his face, but he forced himself to remain calm. "Stay out of this," he snarled. Adam held up his hands again, but his eyes were filled with laughter, as if he found the whole situation amusing. "Hey, I'm just trying to help," he said. "No one wants a scene." Phyllis threw Adam a look, and their wordless communication was all Kane needed. He had seen enough. He turned and left without saying anything else, ignoring Phyllis's calls. As he stepped outside, the cool night air hit him hard, and his breath came in quick, furious bursts. He didn't know where he was going and didn't care. All he knew was that he couldn't stay in that room any longer, couldn't stand Adam's smug look or the pain in Phyllis's eyes. He'd always trusted her and believed in their relationship, so what happened now? He wasn't sure anymore. Had he been blind all this time? Had he overlooked any clues, or dismissed them as insignificant? His mind raced, replaying every contact between Phyllis and Adam over the preceding 2 weeks in search of clues. She dismissed the late-night phone calls as work-related. She didn't comprehend the abrupt lunches. She had started dressing more formally, as if she wanted to impress someone. By the time he arrived at his car, his hands were shaking. He leaned against the door, his head spinning. What should he do now? Confront her? Demand answers? Was he merely neurotic, allowing his worries to ruin the best thing in his life? He didn't know. He only knew that something had changed tonight, something fundamental. Their trust had been damaged, and he was not sure it could be repaired. Back inside, Phyllis remained motionless, her heart pounding against her chest. She could still sense Kane's fury and reproach in his eyes. Part of her wanted to run after him and assure him that nothing was wrong. However, another part of her, a smaller, darker part, was furious. How can he accuse her of such a thing in public? How could he humiliate her like that? Adam's voice disturbed her thoughts. "Are you okay?" he asked, his tone softening now. Phyllis shook her head, her eyes burning with unshed tears. "No," she admitted. "I don't think I am." Adam hesitated, reached out, and hovered near her shoulder before returning to his side. "He'll cool off," he said. "He's just jealous." But Phyllis was unsure. She'd noticed the glare in Kane's eyes, and how his entire body stiffened with barely contained rage. This wasn't just jealousy. This was something deeper and more lethal. And, as much as she wanted to believe that everything would be okay, a small voice in the back of her mind cautioned her that this may be the start of the end. The ride home was silent, but the tension between them was almost palpable. Kane remained concentrated on the road, his hands firm on the steering wheel, while Phyllis looked out the window, arms crossed across her chest. They both stayed silent, unsure what to say. The words uttered in wrath hung in the air between them, heavy and unresolved. When they arrived at the driveway, Cain turned off the engine but did not try to escape. Phyllis waited, her breath trapped in her throat. After what seemed like an eternity, Cain spoke, his voice hoarse. "I need to know the truth," he explained. Phyllis turned to face him, pulse pounding. "There's nothing going on between me and Adam," she insisted firmly. "I don't know what you think you saw, but you're wrong." Cain's jaw hardened. "So, why does it seem like there is?" he asked. "Why do I feel as if I am losing you?" Phyllis's eyes flooded with tears. "You're not losing me," she said. "But you have to trust me." Cain wanted to believe her. God, he really wanted to believe her. But the uncertainty had taken hold, and he didn't know how to get it out. "I don't know if I can," he admitted, his voice breaking. The words floated between them, a dreadful admission that neither of them knew how to handle. Phyllis grasped for his hand with shaky fingers. "Please," she begged. "Do not do this. Don't let him win." But when Cain looked into her eyes, he realized it wasn't about Adam. It was about them. It was a question of whether they could recover from this, whether their love could resist the uncertainty, jealousy, and fear. For the first time in his life, he was unsure of his response.